In today's video, I want to share the ways that I personally use ChatGPT as a working photographer to save myself time, to stay productive, and to finally tackle some of those big to-dos that are always lingering on my list. Hey everybody, Lindsay Adler here. As photographers, we wear so many hats. If you're an aspiring pro or you're already a professional, you know that the actual shooting part of our job is so small. Most days I'm acting as a creative director, a lighting designer, a retoucher, a copywriter, a producer, sometimes I'm even doing the paperwork. And even after so many years in the industry, I still can get really overwhelmed. And I find that my most valuable asset is my time. Because of that mental load, it's so heavy that a lot of times there's things I know I should be doing for my business, but I just can't seem to make the time because I'm buried under everything else. And that's where I found tools like ChatGPT has really helped me. It helps me free up brain space to free up time. It takes over some of the more repetitive or time-consuming tasks that I've been delaying. So obviously, most of you have probably already heard of this tool, or maybe you're already using it, but I want to push you to consider a few more ways that it can help you be productive. Now, if you are one of the few people that are new to ChatGPT, think of it like an AI assistant that you can talk to. It carries on conversations, it can give you ideas and answers, strategies based on the context that you're sharing with it. It's almost like having someone else on your team that you can bounce ideas off of. But here's the thing, most people are using this tool just so surface level, basically as a search engine or to check grammar. I obviously use it for that too, but there's a lot more power if you know how to use it right. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share how I use this tool in both my commercial and portrait photography businesses. But I want to take us beyond surface level Q&A. And I'm not sharing by any means all the ways that photographers or business owners could use this tool. I just want to show you a couple ways that I am using it right now. And of course, there are a ton of other AI tools out there, but this one is pretty ubiquitous and a good way to get started. Oh, and very importantly, I want to show you examples with ChatGPT of how I provide context, constraints, and roles, all of which make it a better collaborator. All right, so let's take a look. In my commercial and editorial work, I am constantly needing to come up with ideas. I have to come up with these concepts, and then I need to communicate them with my team. And so sometimes, not always, but sometimes I find ChatGPT to be a good brainstorming partner. So if I have a seed of an idea, like the upcoming theme for a magazine or maybe a trend, I can take it and then direct ChatGPT to expand upon it a little bit. So for example, I can say, act as a creative director for a fashion magazine. Give me a beauty concept that's inspired by jewel tones and metallic accents. Then give me 3 different approaches, all that reflect my personal style. Now, notice that I've assigned the role creative director because this is going to improve the quality of ideas it gives me. I've also defined a little bit of my visual style to make sure the suggestions it gives me are relevant. And then I've also suggested some specifics that might be relevant to a trend. So everything that I've given it is putting it in a certain direction and making a little bit more of an expert. You'll notice what I didn't do is, ChatGPT, give me 3 ideas for a beauty editorial using blue. You got to be a little bit more specific to that. Now, I definitely don't utilize this for every shoot because I don't need to. But sometimes if there's a magazine with an upcoming theme, it can be really useful just to cover me in a ton of different ideas, and then I can pick out what I find interesting. Now, when it gives me a response, I never stop there. I don't stop at the first one. I continue the back and forth. If something is interesting, I ask it to expand upon it. So for example, I might say, great, I love that 3rd concept, but now make it more avant-garde. And now include the trend of futuristic metallic hair. Then suggest 3 existing editorials that have a similar vibe that I can use for my own visual research. Now, another practical way that I actually use this all the time is for mood boards. And I don't tell it to build the mood boards, but sometimes there's a shoot that I'm doing and I have an idea in my head, but I can't quite find the right reference image. And so I really want my team to understand what I'm going for, but I can't find it. So what I'll do is I'll describe my vision as specifically as I can, then I'll upload some visual references into ChatGPT and then ask it to generate an image. I'm using this for communication. It's not the final result. And I'm not trying to recreate this exact image, but it's how my team can see inside my head. And magazine editors and creative directors at brands, they love this because I can really take my idea and show them exactly what I'm thinking. All right, so next up, here's something fun if you're just learning lighting or you want a little bit of a challenge. I've used this approach a couple times before, but I find it more to be like a creative thought exercise. You can actually upload reference images, could be an editorial, a beauty campaign, even an AI-generated scene, and then ask ChatGPT to break down the lighting as if it were an expert lighting director. So notice I'm giving it a role which is going to make it give me better answers. So instead of just saying, tell me the lighting, I get a little bit more specific. So you're a lighting expert, and I want you to give me an outline of the direction of light, the number of lights, the modifiers, the fill, the background treatment, anything else that you think I would need to know to be able to recreate this shot. Now, what becomes extra helpful is when you provide something called constraints. So you give it some boundaries. So for example, you can then say, show me how to recreate something similar to the shot if I have only 3 lights, and I have a couple of modifiers, including a beauty dish and a 3-foot octabox. Now what it's going to do is it's going to tailor the plan and the suggestions specifically to the gear that I have. I did this with an AI background recently where I wanted to take my subject, photograph them, and then put them in the scene. So I asked it to analyze the light and then suggest gear, and then I made tweaks based on the gear that I already have. So the question you probably have is, how accurate is it? Is it perfect? No, definitely not. In my recent experiments, it definitely gives me the general vibe of the lighting. It gets me pretty close, but I need to tweak it based upon my own expertise. Like, it does make a big difference that I understand lighting. As someone who lives and breathes light, it is definitely not exact. So if you're that type of person, I probably suggest you don't need it, but it does get me in the ballpark. And if you're new to lighting, it helps you see it a little bit more clearly. If you're a new photographer and there's a certain lighting that you really love, yeah, use it as an experiment to try to give you suggestions on how to achieve something similar. I've even heard of some photographers that are building custom lighting GPTs. And what it will do, it'll be trained to better analyze light. It'll be more of an expert and even give diagrams. So these sort of capabilities are only going to get better. In my years as a professional photographer, I have found that good communication and client preparation is just key to a positive experience. And for years, I've been meaning to create a more robust pre-shoot guide. So basically something I can give the client before the shoot so they can have answers about what to bring, the wardrobe to wear, like just any questions they might have to make them feel more confident. And it's something I wanted to do, but it just seemed like a really big task. And so I put it to the side. Until finally I dumped a bullet point into ChatGPT of everything I wanted it to organize. And then I asked it to write this guide, but to do so in my voice. So I said, here's a writing sample from some of my brand materials. I want you to match this tone, but keep it warm and professional. And then it does all the heavy lifting for me. Now, remember, once again, I almost never take the first draft it provides. I then go back and forth until it better fits my brand. I even asked ChatGPT to look over my list, and I said, hey, let me know if there's any other questions you think customers might have so they feel more prepared. And it came up with some really good suggestions. Now, obviously this is not hard. I could have done this whole process myself, but I wasn't getting it done, and that's the point. It helps me clear up the time. So my suggestion is think of the things that have been holding you back and that you want to better communicate, and ask ChatGPT to help you. For example, wardrobe guides, pre-shoot instructions or what to expect, client emails, frequently asked questions, custom guides for specific types of shoots like family photography or your first boudoir shoot. These are all things that ChatGPT helps you do more quickly, more efficiently. And remember, it's about that back and forth iteration and diving a little deeper. Next up on my list is one of the most practical uses of ChatGPT for my commercial work, and this is planning a production. On a lot of the commercial shoots I'm on, it's not unusual for me to photograph 8 models over 1 or 2 days, and we have 20 or 30 different looks we have to capture. And on really big productions with bigger budgets, there's someone who's hired to manage this, to control it. They're a producer, they handle the scheduling, but on small jobs or with smaller budget, this falls on me. And ChatGPT can build a schedule, but what I do is I give it as much information as possible. The call and wrap times of the models, the number of looks, hair and makeup, how long does that take to prep? How many group shots do I need? Do I need to get a shot, for example, in golden hour? Any other details I can possibly think of. So I'll ask it, for example, to act as a producer for an upcoming commercial shoot. There are 4 models with 3 looks each. The initial hair and makeup is 90 minutes. Changes are 30 minutes each. Model 1 arrives at 8 a.m., 2 and 3 at 10, model 4 at 11. I need individual shots of each person, plus 2 group shots with all 4 models. And then I need one of those group shots to be at 4:30 during golden hour. Build a full time frame with buffers and a 45-minute lunch. And then it gives me an outline. And it's never right the first time around, right? I gotta look back through it and be like, oh, actually, I need the first model to wrap by 5 o'clock. I need to leave more buffer time. And what's really helpful is not only does this give me a schedule, but as I look at it, I might realize that, oh, what the client is asking me for would only allow me 5 minutes per shot, and that's just not enough. So I could take this information back to the client, show them the outline of the day, and we can make changes to help the shoot be more successful. And honestly, I've been able to use ChatGPT for this to save me hours and hours and allow me to have an overview of how the day can run successfully. ChatGPT has also helped me with a little bit of my business strategy. And I'm not relying on it to make all my business decisions, far from it. But there are moments where they're just key tasks that I really need it to help me with that I keep putting off. So for example, a perfect example is that earlier this year, I redesigned my portrait photography website and I wanted to adjust my pricing structure. So I provided ChatGPT with my target audience, a detailed description, the offerings, as well as my goal of what I want to make per shoot. And I told it to act as a marketing consultant. And what it did is it helped me to create tiered packages and then refine those packages towards a luxury audience. So for example, if I just said, hey, I want to charge $5,000 for my most expensive package, build me pricing, how could it possibly know what my clients are interested in and know more about my brand? It can't, and that is why context is everything. And notice again, I assigned it a role of a marketing consultant to help change the type of answers I get. Could I have done my pricing myself? Yes, of course, but this made it just a little bit more manageable. So try prompts like, help me design a 3-tiered portrait package at different price points, but then describe your audience. Rename these packages for a more luxury audience. Rewrite this pricing to give a clear explanation of the offerings. And then my personal favorite is actually to ask it if I'm overlooking anything or what objections clients might have and how could I gracefully respond to those objections. And by the way, if you have a client journey, which is basically how the clients interact with you from their initial outreach to the email flow to the booking, and if you find that your clients are getting stuck somewhere, you can put this flow in this journey into ChatGPT and have it analyze and then give you suggestions of how you might be able to close on more bookings. You might ask it to analyze your communications, give you suggestions for improvements. And I found these sorts of questions and back and forth will allow you to reveal blind spots, things you might not have noticed, and it'll help you think a little bit more strategically. But remember, it's not always right, and you are the boss, and it is your brand. There are countless ways you can use ChatGPT and AI, and these are just a couple examples. Honestly, they're pretty simple, but I've already integrated them into my business, and they're really, we'll call it a little bit more elementary. If you want to integrate a lot more of this tool into your business, feel free. But I like to use it just to free up my time and to take a little bit of that pressure off of my brain for constantly having to try to go through my to-do list. So what I'm hoping is that this gave you a few ideas of maybe different ways that you haven't used this tool that would help you save time or be more productive. But what's really important that I want you to take away is that there are a few key elements that will make this tool more powerful. Give it context, your brand, your clients, your voice. Assign it roles like creative director, producer, marketing consultant. Add constraints like the gear you have, the schedule or time of the day, your budget, your goals. Provide examples, for example, your tone, your website, your past work, your style. And treat it as a collaborator, not as a decision maker. And last but not least, iterate. In other words, don't accept the first draft, shape it and sculpt it, go back and forth, dive deeper. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this saves you just a little bit more time. Now, if you'd like to see some other ways that I use AI, be sure to check out the links in the description below. Sometimes I'm using it for creative retouching purposes, and other times I'm using it to create AI environments where then I shoot and composite things together. Also, if you want to see some of the core gear that I use in my kit, you can find that in the description below as well. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. See you next time, guys.